and there are things that changes there that we need to do on the pitch, and we're getting players back from injuries, and we're investing time in them. So there's a lot of components there that doesn't make it as easy as you sometimes wish maybe it could be. But that's good.
Obviously, very different looking team last night to the team that will take to the pitch on Sunday, I assume. But did anybody catch your eye particularly? You might be holding the hand up and saying, boss, maybe in the WSL?
I think always, and that's the competitive nature that we have in the squad, that there is a lot of qualities. And therefore, I enjoy every opportunity we have, both to see them in games but also in training. And we don't have any permanent team selection at Arsenal. We select for each game what we think is going to be the best team. So, of course, I study very carefully.
So, as I alluded to, that's 7 wins now on the bounce in all competitions. Again, how important is that to get momentum with, as you get to the business end of the league?
To win football matches from a results perspective is the most important thing in football. Doesn't mean that just because you win that everything is good. It's the same thing when you lose football matches. So I still think our focus needs to be on how we do things, and there are, as always, room for improvement, and we need to focus on that, and we need to take that to the next step. But to find ways to win football matches, it's really, really important, and to get that as a winning culture, it's really important. And I think you can see that because sometimes the experiences can help you in getting belief, and we have been able this season to turn a lot of games around, also in the time from 85 minutes plus. I think it helps a little bit with how the referees now are managing the time, that we know that we will get the time back in a much more like truthful way than we had been before, because they add on time for more situations. I don't think it's fully compensated still, but it is for more situations, which I think gives us a better calmness as well, to play those final minutes of the game.
I think it's the first London derby of the season. Are they a bit special, London derbies?
Every derby is special, of course, but like as a coach, it's 3 points, and that's the important thing. And like we spoke about before, it's a really competitive league. It's a 22 game season, so every game plays a really, really important factor into the end result. And I think you see a team like West Ham, and just to making that point on competitive league, I think their performances, like I saw them against Aston Villa, I think it's a really strong performance. I think they're really unlucky going away from that game with not any points in the book, and it just shows that it's not as easy anymore as you just look at the league table position and you try to draw conclusions if this is a weak or a strong team. It's like West Ham is it's a competitive team. They're well organized. They work really, really hard together, and they're gonna pose difficult questions to any team that plays them.
And I'm about to do just that. Look at the league table, and obviously they're a mirror image of Arsenal, really, in that you've won 5 and lost 1, and they've lost 5 and won 1. But your message is that to the players that don't take this for granted. There are no easy games in this league.
Exactly. It's the most important game we have because it's the next one. Like I said, their performances definitely command respect, West Ham, and we need to be a very good version of ourselves on Sunday.
Talking about London derbies, I think Chelsea coming up in a couple of weeks. I understand already with more than 2 weeks to go, 50,000 tickets have been sold for that match. Again, looks like you might getting pretty close to filling out the stadium. How impressive is that?
I think we should sell out. I think the game it's a great game. We're already at 50,000 tickets sold. Don't miss out. Buy a ticket. Bring a friend. Bring a family member. And let's get a sellout for the first time in our history in WSL. I think this it's a great occasion for that, and I think everyone should be pushing for that.
A top salesman as well as a top coach.
At least a top salesman.
And just finally from me, Beth Mead back in England squad. Must be pleased for her.
I am, of course. It's the individual level. We're working in a team sport, but we all know that of all these players that we have, they all have individual hopes and dreams, and their journeys is highs, there's lows, and they work so many hours, and sometimes you can't control all the things in that process. So to see her returning to England again, it's really pleasing to see, and it's going to be exciting to follow her at the international break and see what she can contribute with here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Tim.
Jonas, just on team news, Stina and Lotte weren't in the squad last night, and neither was Kim. Are any of them going to be in the squad on Sunday?
Yeah, so Lotte was just rested. We gave her a few days off because she's the only player that went into the late stages of the World Cup that we haven't been able to manage. So this came at a good opportunity that we could do. So she returned back to training and, of course, fully available for the weekend. Kim, we're hoping to be available for the weekend as well. She hasn't been here due to injuries, but we hope for the weekend. And Stina she picked up a very minor injury against Brighton, and that's going to be almost like on a game day decision if she can make it or not. But we need to monitor that carefully and just take the good decision.
And on Stina, she's top scorer at the moment. I think a lot of people assume when Russo was signed this summer that it'd be Russo kind of first choice, Stina second choice. I'm not saying I thought that, but it's actually clear that they're sharing that role, and Stina's qualities, particularly late in games, but it's clear that there are games where you really want her superpowers, as it were, from the start. What have you made of her this season, and perhaps how much this role maybe suits her a bit more than the situation last season where she was really the only out-and-out number 9?
I think she has been really strong from a mental perspective, Stina, and she makes the most out of the minutes she plays. Then if that's starting or if it's finishing the game, and I think it's such an important trait to have as a football player, especially in football nowadays, in women's football with more competitive squads, to be able to do that, because that gives you, of course, more options. If you're both good at starting games and good at finishing games, then you can help the team in more ways, and to focus on what you can control, which is the minutes that you get selected to play. It's always going to be the most beneficial way, and I think she's been doing that really, really well so far this season, and that helps the team massively.
And just the final one I've had saved up for a few weeks. You talked about changing the team there, and when I look at Chelsea, for example, I think they've had that balance between flexibility and familiarity for quite a long time, but obviously that didn't happen to them overnight. It took a long time with the same players and the same coach to get there. I felt like Arsenal are kind of starting that journey now with this kind of big squad. What do you make of both having, that balance that you're trying to strike between having lots of options, but having that comfortably?
To say again, So
in terms of having a big squad and being able to change and being able to have different game plans, but when you do make those changes, not losing that kind of sense of familiarity, so everyone can just plug in and play. Because I don't think it's there yet, but I don't think it would have been fair to expect that to be there yet. So what do you make of that kind of journey of having a bigger squad and being able to move parts really comfortably?
Yeah. I think that's a great question, and I think it goes back to that proverb saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think there is no doubt that the way forward is to go with a larger squad for it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to handle all competitions and all the challenges that poses. But then comes that question to say, how fast can you go now when you try to implement things, and you don't only have to worry about 11 players that will play with each other week in, week out. Of course, that goes faster to implement something, but you also becomes a lot more vulnerable when those players can't play for it. So the solution to that is, of course, like you're saying, is to implement that in the whole squad. So everybody get that sense of familiarity, so everybody can step in with their roles and responsibilities and play. But it's a slower process. It has to be, because the time is of course different, and it needs to be divided out onto more people. So you need to have more trust. You need to have a little bit more patience in the process. You have to try and make the most of every second that you're working with it. But it is a slower process. So I think it's exactly like how you frame it up in that way there. And I think as long as you're using every second as good as possible, that's going to be really, really important for us. And I'm 100% sure of that this is the right way to go with a larger and more competitive squad, because it's the only way that we're going to get to a point where we can challenge in all the competitions that we want to do. Thanks.
Susie.
Hey, Jonas. 50,000 tickets sold for the Chelsea game. Huge contingents of Arsenal fans travelling home and away at the moment. Obviously, there's a myriad of reasons why players join clubs, why they stay at clubs, but how impactful are those crowds, those tendencies, and that atmosphere on the mood of the players? What makes them want to stay at Arsenal? Why they want to come here?
I think, of course, that's one factor that is really important, because I think everyone that is a part of this Arsenal team, we feel that support, and we feel that special bond, and we're so grateful for having it. I think when you see the growth in women's football, I think attendance figures is perhaps the most important growth factor into it, because the reality is that there is not the prize money structure in the European competitions yet that will give you like a huge advantage of going into the later stages there. It's more, it will cover your expenses type of thing. But of course, it's a giant leap to go from selling 4,000 tickets on a weekend basis to selling 60,000 tickets. That's a huge leap to do, which grows revenue, which enables sustainability in investing into the team, which should be able to give you more sporting success, which should be able to generate more attendance, right? So if you get on that flywheel effect. So I think that is great, the interest we have around the team. We just need to, as a club, and like we're doing really well at the moment, to capitalize on that, and to making sure that's one of the things that makes Arsenal stand out compared to our competitors at the moment. And we should really try our very, very best to generate momentum for that, and to have that as a foundation to drive sporting success in a way that our competitors at the moment shouldn't be able to do, but we can do.
Obviously, like from a financial point of view, it gives you an advantage and things like you say. But do you see it in the players? Have you seen a difference in, when you're coming in to Arsenal and the crowds are significantly smaller than they are now? Do you see the impact on the playing group of those crowds and how much they respond to it and feed off it?
So for me, I think that's linked in the mentality and the support we get from the fans, that we are able to turn around games late. They play a massive part in that, because the atmosphere the fans gives us and the support, they never ever stop believing. They never ever stop singing for it. If they would have had the mentality and turning their back against the team in the 80th minute because you don't have the result you like at the moment, of course, I think that's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy as well. So I really see that bond is getting stronger. It helps us on the pitch, definitely, but it helps us because the fans are amazing. And they're true supporters. They're with the team the whole way. They're supporting the team the whole way. And I think you could even see after the game against Liverpool, which we were so disappointed with our performance, like what's the fans' reaction? They're traveling up in huge numbers to Manchester and are there supporting us on a Friday night. And I mean, we spoke about that after the game. It almost feels like it's our home game at times over there, with the way that the fans is sounding, and it's incredible. And they're a huge part of us being able to win 7 games in a row.
And then last one on Alessia Russo. Obviously, we're a few months into her time at Arsenal now. I was wondering if you wanted to give us a feel for how you feel she's settled into the side. You know, there's sometimes people look at the number of goals and the stats, which I personally don't necessarily agree with in this case, and say maybe she's not scoring as much as she should be. Wondering if you wanted to give a little bit of a feel for what you see she's brought, her qualities, how she's settled in, and her all-round game.
Yeah, I think it's always a big step when you move to another club, and like you're saying, it's far more things to consider than only to be on the pitch. You need to settle all the things in your life, how you live and the area, and getting comfortable with all those things. Alessia works so hard. She's such a great individual and team player to have in the team. Do we have room for improvement for her in how we can involve her more, especially in the in the offensive penalty area, and get more touches in there, get more shooting opportunities? Absolutely. Especially when she's playing the number 9 position. I think that has to be the aim, that she's getting more involvement there, because that's going to lead to more goals. From a finishing perspective, and I said that before, she's probably the best finisher that I ever worked with. I really think she can finish in a lot of different varieties. She has great pace in her finishing, so for her it's more a number of how many times she can come to the finishes, rather than to the quality of what she will be doing with those opportunities. But there are things we're working with. But from her application and the effort she's putting into to Arsenal and to improve, amazing. And that's why I'm so sure she will have a great future with us. Thank you.
Rebecca.
So a lot of the younger players that are out on loan at the minute are having huge success. There's been a lot of England calls up in the last day or so. I'm just curious, how much of a relationship do you maintain with the players that are out on loan at the minute? Because a lot of them have only made 1 or 2 appearances for the first team, but kind of have started making that impact already. Just curious what your stance is with them at the minute.
Yeah, so you're right, and that has been a real shift from last season to this season, that we have a lot of young, really talented players out on loan to get the experience to play first team football. With each one of them that's on loan, we follow them up on a weekly basis, watching their games and so on. With the majority of them, we also have them continuously into training with the first team when it fits their schedule. So they're coming in, but at different times to do that. But that means that we will both have the football and the personal contact with them. And I think that is really important, that when we are sending them out on loan, that we're really good at maintaining the contact, that we're helping them with the progress and the development. And in some instances, with a Michelle Aggerman, for example, that had a minor knee injury at Watford, we could take her back to our environment. We could help her rehabilitate that fully to get back into full training, and after that we can let the loan resume again. But we definitely want to take that full responsibility of the loan process.